I just missed a flight for the first time in my life. I was just that person booking it through the terminal just to arrive at my gate as the plane pulled away. I intended to film this video when I got to my destination, but instead we're doing this in the airport. You may know that the first business I started talking about here on this channel was my real estate investing business. Some of my experience comes from there. But I also have this content business that revolves around this YouTube channel and all of the associated income streams there. And I have a YouTube agency where I help other people grow their own content businesses. So you would think that with three business types that are quite different, there would be different elements that work in each. But what I've learned is that these things that take you from having a side hustle or something that may make you a couple hundred or a couple $1,000s one time to giving you the opportunity to build a business that not only consistently brings income, but that eventually you can step out of, bring other people in to work in, and generate more time and more financial freedom for yourself. So here's how we'll make it happen. In the first comment beneath this video, I've got a free business assessment that is going to rank you on how well your side hustle or your business is performing in each of these 6 areas. That assessment is free, and once you get your results, you can go join my free school community where I have in-depth trainings on each of the 6 areas. But before we get there, I want this video to be an overview of how these 6 areas work together so that when you go take the quiz, you have an understanding, and when you go to school to get those free courses, you're able to use them to the best of your ability. There's a lot of definitions of what a business is out there, and they all have some good elements to them. But the way that I've been thinking about business lately is something that eventually can run without you, right? Where you could take a 2-3 month vacation and your business not only continue running, continue making money, and even make more money than when you were there. And honestly, that's not a bar that I've met in my own businesses yet, but I think that it is a worthwhile goal to have, because at the end of the day, a business that you can't leave is a job. It means that you're self-employed, but a business that can run without you is something that you own. And I think that's where you become a true entrepreneur and a business owner. So the first of these pillars is your operations and your service delivery. This is basically like, what do you do and how do you do it? I always think of the example of a lemonade stand, right? If that's your business, then your operations are going to be things like, how do you get the lemons? How do you get the sugar? How do you mix and make the lemonade? How do you set up the stand? And then your service delivery is going to be everything in regards to, how does somebody actually get the lemonade from you? How much do they pay? Where do they stand in line? How many size offerings of cups do you have? Without operations and service delivery, you don't have a business. And the mistake I see new entrepreneurs making is they are not super detailed and super clear on exactly what their operations and service delivery are. For example, if you're watching my channel because you're interested in real estate investing, I often find that people jump from one task to another. One day they're cold calling, one day they're driving for dollars, one day they're searching for deals on market, and they don't have a clear path from start to finish of exactly what they need to do to deliver their service, which at the end of the day is finding good deals for cash buyers if you're wholesaling, or finding good deals for yourself if you're a buy and hold investor or a house flipper. And so the number one thing that you should do is write down your operations and your service delivery from start to finish. Here's an example of what a flow chart for a more complex, further ahead business might look like, but we can also think about this from the perspective of, let's say, a social media marketer who's creating graphics to run their client's social media. And if you're not sure where to start, here's 5 good categories that you can think about. You could think about, it starts with your onboarding, what happens when someone first starts to work with you, your planning of what you're going to do to deliver the service, the creation of the service, getting their feedback, and then the delivery or the scheduling. So for a social media marketer, somebody might collect payment from your client first, you'll send them a welcome message, collect any information that you need from them, and then you'll go into a brainstorming session where you share ideas for them to approve for their content. From there, you go out and you design the content, you write the captions, whatever needs to happen, and you send it to them for their approval or their feedback. Any edits that need to be made are made, and then you're able to schedule it, right? So even just this simple flow gives you a concrete idea of what the heck are my operations, what are my service delivery, what do I need to do first, second, and third in order to deliver on whatever I'm getting paid for. The next step to doing an even better job with your operations and service delivery is to have what are called standard operating procedures, but are basically just how-to instructions. And this is one of my favorite things to do in my business, is to just record a Loom, like the one that you guys are seeing on my screen now, and I have in my Notion system a place that I put all trainings. So anything that's client instructions, anything that's for my onboarding, anything that's for video production for my YouTube agency, it goes here so that eventually doing, even if it's something that I am still responsible for and doing today, eventually I can pass it off to someone else, and it's documented how to actually do that thing. Outlining your operations also lets you see the areas that you might be able to use AI or automation within your business. I recently posted this video talking about all the different AI and automated systems that I use in my business, but as a quick example, when you go take that business assessment that's going to rank you on these 6 different pillars, I have an automation that once you finish it, there's going to be a slight delay, and then you're going to be added to my Kajabi email list so that I can follow up with you automatically, see how the quiz went, and remind you to go check out the free trainings in my free school community. This happens automatically. The only reason I was able to set this up automatically is because I wrote down my operations and I knew that this was a step that needed to happen and realized that I could do it with automation. The second pillar is all about hiring and team management. And there's a phrase I always think about when it comes to hiring, and it's don't build a prison. And there's kind of 2 entrepreneurship prisons that you want to watch out for. One is much more common than the other, so make sure you listen to them both. Most people either build a prison by hiring people way too soon and or paying them way too much to the point where your business can never scale and grow because all of your money is going towards paying the people working in it, or they wait far too long to hire and they can't scale or grow because the only efforts moving the business forward are their own, and you only have 24 hours in a day. You spend some of that time eating, sleeping, hopefully spending time with family, and maybe even doing an entire another full-time job. And so to avoid the first trap, you have to be really honest with yourself that you're not over hiring, that you're not hiring too early for things that you could be doing. Just because you don't like doing something or you're not necessarily great at it yet doesn't mean that you should automatically hire it out, especially if your business isn't making any money or not enough money to truly support that hire. But you also don't want to wait too long and just have like this limiting belief that hiring is going to make you broke. So in order to make the decision when to hire, one, make sure you're actually ready for it. And you can either start with the cheapest thing to outsource, or you can start with the thing that's going to be most impactful. If you start with the cheapest thing, it'll be the cheapest, it'll cost you the least. But if you start with the thing that's most impactful, then it's going to help you make more money, which would pay off the hiring decision. For example, if we go back to our social media marketing business, I might set up automations that collect payment, send a welcome message, and collect the necessary info that I need from my clients. And then I might hire someone relatively cheaply to write captions and make edits to the content that I create and the client gives feedback on. Then the person that I hired can also schedule that content. So this is a combination of using both AI and automation, as well as a relatively low-priced VA to help me in my business so that I have time to take on more clients and therefore make more money. Just as a quick note, I talk about this more in the school course, but I have found great success hiring VAs from the Philippines, and my typical rule of thumb is to pay 10 to 25% more than they would make working at a job in their local area. So I don't like to underpay just because they're in a foreign country, but it is less expensive than if I hire here in the US. The third pillar is all about reporting and analytics, and this is a really tough one for new entrepreneurs because you're probably not bringing in a consistent amount of money from month to month, and so it's easy to kind of be lax with how you're keeping track of things. But there are a few rules of thumb that you do not want to miss out on. The first is don't let not having an LLC stop you from starting. Even if you start making your first couple of dollars without having your LLC, you can fix things later, and I'll leave a link in the description below to get a free call with the team that I use for my LLC creation, so you can ask them all your questions and get that set up. But don't let it stop you. In the meantime, do your best to keep any business income that you're making separate from your personal income so that come tax season, you are able to kind of see the difference of what you've made in different areas. Again, in the school community, I go more in depth to the type of dashboards, reportings, and KPIs that you could use. But at the end of the day, you want to think about what are the key drivers of your business. Maybe it's how many cold calls you make, maybe it's how many DMs you send, and you want to be tracking those things on a week-to-week basis to make sure that you're hitting your baseline numbers. Next up is marketing, and I'm keeping this separate from sales, which is coming up next, but I think of marketing as everything you do to let people know who you are and what you have to offer. In order to have something of value to offer someone, you have to know what they need. So understanding your audience is a core part of marketing, and you need to be having conversations with real life people that are your ideal audience members. I oftentimes have free Q&A sessions or co-working sessions where I just hang out and get to know the people that I want to serve. These conversations with real life people are far better than anything ChatGPT come up with to describe your audience member or that you could get from just reading different books. You need to have a core understanding of those that you want to serve if you want to do it well and build a business that makes money. Obviously, another huge part of marketing for me is this YouTube channel. And so I'm a true believer in the power of content creation to reach more people than you could without it, as well as to increase the know, like, and trust factor. People only work with those that they know, like, and trust, and the more time that people can interact with you and get to know you through your content creation, the higher that factor is going to be, the easier it's going to be for you to make sales. But I realize that everyone doesn't want to be a content creator, and so there are some other ways to market. I'm stealing these from Alex Hormozi as his core 4 from his book, $100 Million Leads. I definitely recommend that you buy it. There's links below to books and audiobooks and all of that. But the first of his core 4 ways to get leads is through paid advertising, so putting ads on things like Facebook or TikTok or Google. Second is outbound marketing. This would be things like cold calling, emailing, cold DMing, that type of stuff. Then you've got inbound marketing where people come and find you, and that's what you do when you're creating content. You're putting it out there and people can find you through it. And then finally, there's referrals. So just word of mouth. Somebody works with you successfully, they tell a friend, and you get a new client that way. I will say that referrals are obviously going to be a lot slower. The fifth pillar is sales, and I realize that sales and marketing oftentimes go together, so I think it's important to make a distinction between the two. I define marketing as telling people what you do, right? Through one of those core 4 ways, making content, sending emails, cold calling. And sales is giving people an opportunity to purchase that thing from you. And so sales begins where marketing ends. If we take my business, for example, you watching this YouTube channel is a part of my marketing. And then joining my free school community is another part of my marketing. Able to get more free resources, connect with me in a deeper way than here on YouTube. And then you'll likely come across some of my offerings, such as my 8-week business mentorship. If it's the case that you want to join that, you'll see a link to my calendar where you can schedule a Zoom call with me. We'll have a conversation. And then if you're a good fit, then you'll become a customer or a client in my business. And so your marketing should seamlessly flow into your sales. There's going to be far more people who are at the start of this funnel watching this YouTube, for example, than those that become a client. It's not that every person makes it all the way through, but there's a seamless funnel for the right people who want to work with me to follow from one end to the other. Here's a quick look at another sales framework that's pretty popular. It's called the LAPS framework. It stands for leads, appointments, presentations, and then sales. I won't go too in depth on this now because I talk about it a lot in that free training, but this is kind of how you get an idea of how your sales funnel and sales pipeline is doing, how many leads are coming in, how many are booking appointments with you, how many show up to your presentation and are actually qualified, and then how many become clients through a sale at the end of that. Now we've got one more pillar, and I know this is a lot, but it all comes together with this last one, which is time management. But I promise you that there are simple ways to steal back more of your time so that you don't end up like this meme, realizing that your goals from 5 years ago have just slipped through your fingers like sand. I've talked about it before, but my favorite time management tool is an app called Rise. I've got a link for a free 7-day trial below, but it goes onto your laptop, it tracks your time spent on different apps, and it categorizes it so it can make recommendations on where you can find more time and be more productive. Also, a simple hack is to do more co-working sessions. Like I said, I do co-working sessions inside the school community. You can find them by going to the calendar tab and adding the Zoom link to your calendar. But one of the first things that I had my VA do with me when I first hired her was spend just 2 hours a day working with me on Zoom. And I would share my screen and I would turn off my phone, and just having another person there, seeing what I was doing, made me so much more productive. And I think it could do the same for you as well. Because whether it's a part of hustle culture or not, you can't get things done if you don't set aside the time to do them.